Hello and Happy New Year. It's been a while since I've been on the channel. I know that. The last thing I uploaded was a video that my husband took of walking our dog Patches at Little Island Park here in Virginia Beach. And even though that was recorded in October, it was December 31st of 2023, if I remember correctly, that it was uploaded. A lot's happened since then. And 2024 was one of those years that I'd like to forget in a lot of ways. But it is what it is. I do say it has strengthened my faith in Jesus Christ. And the same with my husband. We are both believers. And the one word I had picked for 2024 was trust. And that was put to the test, for sure, for sure. So January of 2024, it was kind of an odd month. My husband was still getting over, or I should say healing, from having a heart attack after he had videoed him and Patches walking back in October. So he had an October, he calls it his Halloween heart attack. So he was still healing from that. So I was busy taking care of him and working. So January was there. Wasn't anything spectacular. February came. February 6th is our wedding anniversary, and we had a doctor's appointment that day for him so that he could get checked out and make sure. It was his physical. And he did okay. His heart was fine. Blood pressure was a little elevated, but he's been taking medication religiously, taking the medication. So, yeah, I had that day off, and we enjoyed it. We didn't do anything fancy. Just went home and enjoyed having the day together. Well, the next morning he woke up, he could not see, and he was having a headache. Well, I did what I could to take care of Patches. He didn't understand what was going on. And I ended up taking my husband to the hospital because his pupils were little pinpoints, or looked like pinheads. So as soon as I got him into the emergency room, they took one look at him and they called a stroke alert. Yes, my husband had a stroke overnight. Between February 6th and February 7th. He was in the hospital for a couple of weeks in February of 2024. And he had a few other strokes. But they were ischemic strokes, which means that they were very short-lived. They were just small blood clots, and then they would go away. Thankfully, he didn't have any brain bleeds. So that was that. He came home after a couple of weeks. He was home for 3 hours, and then he stroked out on me in the kitchen, at the kitchen table. So I'm calling 911, and he's acting like he's going to stop breathing. I ran over to get my neighbors, husband and wife, and they came over, and they were helping me move Tim in case, that's my husband's name, in case we needed to do CPR. Well, he came to, he was sitting, got him on the couch. Rescue squad came in, took care of him, took him back to the hospital where he had more strokes. They couldn't figure out why he was having the strokes, although his blood pressure was sky high. He'd been taking his medication. He hadn't been skipping it. So he was in the hospital about a week and a half, and then they took him to a nursing home, rehab center. And he was there for 5 days, and that about drove him nuts. And the care they gave him was not the best. I'm not even going to name the place. It was horrible. Thankfully, I was able to advocate for him, and he was able to advocate for himself. So got him home. So February, he was in the hospital. He doesn't even hardly remember February. March came. The neurologist that was on his case, it was actually a physician's assistant neurologist. He ordered a heart monitor for the whole month of March. So He had that on all of March. So that was pretty much March. He had some times where he didn't feel good, but he kept it on, and we did what we had to do. And come to find out, the doctors had been calling him to get him to go into Virginia Beach General to get a pacemaker in. Well, my husband didn't understand what the emergency was. He's like, I'm okay. I just don't feel good, but I'm okay. Remember now, he's a retired firefighter and medic from a local city here in the Tidewater area. So he's like, I'm okay. They're just going to tell me to go home. Well, there was an appointment on April the 9th that he was supposed to have gone to. Well, they had called him the Friday before that and told him to go over to Virginia Beach General Emergency Room, check in so he could get his surgery. He didn't understand. If they'd have called me, I would have had him in there right then. So in the meantime, they had canceled the cardiology appointment that he had for April the 9th. Well, they didn't call me and tell me, so I decided to take him in that morning because I had taken that time off. And the physician's assistant that was attending to him, well, she came in late because she didn't think she had an 8 a.m. appointment. So we're there. She came in a little late, and she fussed my husband out. And he explained to her, and I explained to her the situation. Since he's had the strokes, he doesn't understand if you talk over the phone with him. And they did a 12 lead. Everything was fine, but I could see his color was changing. When he's not feeling good, his color changes. He gets really pale. So I told her, why don't I take him over to the hospital now? Maybe they can get him prepped and start in a couple of days. She said, well, okay. I'll go ahead and call ahead. Yeah, kind of that attitude. So as I was getting him downstairs, getting him in the car, he was not doing well. Thankfully, the hospital was literally right across the street. And I was able to get a parking spot pretty much right at the front door. Well, the door of the emergency room. Got him across. He was starting to have chest pains. He hadn't started the drooping yet, but he was having chest pains. So they got him in a chair, got him into the triage. I was checking him in. He was talking to the nurse. I could hear the slurred speech. And I turned and I hollered at the nurse, look at his face. He's not sounding right. She looked up from doing what she was doing. And that was the most oh crap look I had ever seen on anyone. And I had never seen a wheelchair get moved out as fast as his did, and they called a stroke alert. So got him in, got him stabilized. He was having several strokes. They were all ischemic. So come to find out, before the surgery, his heart had literally stopped up to 3 seconds, which if your blood's not moving, it's going to coagulate. And when it started moving again, that's where the clots would go up into his brain. So anyway, that's what was going on. I've actually have some notes to try to keep up. There was so much that happened during that time. So April the 10th, he got his pacemaker. Now, mind you, he's only 62 years old. He had just turned 62 on April the 5th. He was young. He still is young. But some of the things that he went through, up to then, I thought I was going to lose him. And thankfully, work gave me the time to go to the hospital and do what I needed to do. And I signed up for FMLA, Family Medical Leave. So, also, too, when he had the surgery, they gave him fentanyl to knock him out. Well, he had side effects from that. After he came back from the recovery room, he came up and he was doing okay, and then all of a sudden he didn't feel like he wanted to breathe anymore, and he stopped breathing. So I finally got a nurse. It was a little hard, but I actually got a nurse to come in, and then like half the hospital staff came in his room and was working on him to get him to start breathing. Well, there's this thing called Narcan that will get the fentanyl out, but if you don't keep giving the Narcan, the fentanyl will come back and it will cause him to stop breathing. So they finally got that done. He had to go to ICU. They took him from a regular room to ICU, and I had to literally run after the nurses because they were flying down that hallway. I had to sit and wait for about an hour in the ICU waiting room. I didn't know whether he'd be alive. And that was a long hour. But finally the nurse came. She said, "Your husband is asking for you. He's doing much better." I cried so hard on her shoulder. She was very uncomfortable with me crying on her shoulder, and I understand that, but oh my gosh. I was able to go back and see him, and he was doing better. He had good color back and everything, so that was hard. So that was April. May, he was home, starting to heal. Didn't do a whole lot. So May was kind of a rest month. So, but he had lost most of his sight with all those strokes. We actually found an ophthalmologist that he could go to here in the area. His optic nerves are very thin, but his eyes are fine. It's that part of the brain that was damaged that works with the sight. Yeah, he lost most of his sight. He has very, very little. He has just a little bit in the left eye on the right side of the eye that he can see through. It's like that much. Everything else is shadows. So, yeah. Saw an ophthalmologist, got a hold of the Virginia Department of Blind and Visually Impaired. They came out, did an assessment. He's able to, he's learning how to use the white cane and navigating, which he's doing much better with that. He's able to get the audio books from the library, and they have a special player for them, which is really cool. So, yeah, there's that. June, he was back in the hospital a couple times. Stroke and heart. And it wasn't because his heart stopped per se, but he was having issues. He had AFib, atrial fibrillation, where the heart just didn't know what it was doing. And then supraventricular tachycardia, where it went over 200 beats a minute, and it would not slow down. Yeah, that was rough. They changed his meds again for the umpteenth time, and they finally have him on atenolol and Eliquis, which has been working so far. We got that going. July on up to today of 2025. He's still healing. He's walking with his white cane. He's actually going out into the neighborhood, staying on the sidewalk. He's had a trainer to show him a couple of times how to do that. And he's been walking up to a mile. Of course, right now, since this is January 5th, we have a major storm coming in, and it was horribly cold. Last couple of days has been horribly cold for him because he's still healing. So he's been doing some exercise here in the house. A little bit of jump rope. He has the ropeless ones, so I don't have to worry about him bouncing up and down too much. But he's getting the exercises in his arms. And I drive 2 vehicles now because he can't drive anymore because he can't see. So I have to try to keep up with 2 vehicles now instead of just my own. So I've been doing that the best I can. So that's why I haven't uploaded anything this past year, 2024. I've had my hands full. And I'm thankful that I've had God help me through this. I've had some good friends. Our church family has been behind us. Thankfully, we have their help with food, and if I have to have any help with any of the bills, I can, fill out the forms and they can help. We've thought about maybe getting another dog, but no. And I have to back up because February, when my husband came home, finally after being in the nursing home, Patches had had several things happen to him while I was either working or out with taking care of and seeing Tim. Patches got to the point that he would walk and fall down, walk, fall down. He would fall down more than he could walk, and I don't know what happened. It was something in his brain. Of course, he had epilepsy. He'd had epilepsy for a few years. So February 23rd was a really hard day for us because we had to take him to the vet for the last time. Yeah, that was a very hard day. And like I said, we thought about maybe getting another dog, but no, we can't afford it. Not with the way bills are now. We have medical bills out the wazoo that we're paying. And so that, and my husband is afraid that he would trip over the dog, hurting it and hurting himself. So he's learning how to use the white cane. He's got things arranged here in the house that to me it doesn't make sense a whole lot, but at least he's able to navigate, so that's fine. As long as the bathroom and the kitchen stay in their places, he can rearrange the rest of the house however he wants. Just give me a map to the bathroom and the kitchen. I'm good. So, as for the channel, the journey is going to be different now. I want to keep it. I'd like to keep it. It might take me a while to hit my groove, but I would like to explore different topics. Talk about things like, I don't know, planners, fountain pens. Those are some of the things that I like, and I see that are fairly popular on YouTube. Yeah, I might even do some reaction videos to some other videos, other news that I've seen, and I'd like to give my 2 cents worth. So that's some of the plans that I have when it comes to uploads, content, just trying to find out what works, what doesn't work, and just go from there. So join me on this new journey. Indeed, it is definitely going to be a journey. And I'd like to say thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'm going to do my best to get used to this medium and create content that you would find interesting, educational even. So, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.